I've regained a sort of quality of life that I didn't have going into the surgery. Back in 1978, I suffered a sports injury, which resulted in my tearing ligaments and tendons in my ankle and breaking my fibula. The surgeon back then sort of fixed the torn ligaments and tendons, threw a cast on it. It healed up. I was fine until sort of I hit, age 50 or so. At that point, I started to develop osteoarthritis, and it progressed to the point where it began to affect my daily life. I had to give up playing tennis. I had to give up sort of running. Then I ultimately gave up skiing, and then I kind of ended up pretty much in pain every day and taking like a lot of a leave to address the pain. It drove me to an orthopedist here in Concord, New Hampshire, probably when I was 56 years old, I would say, who took x-rays and said, based on what he saw, the only real sort of solution he could offer was an ankle fusion surgery, but ultimately would mean that down the road I would most likely develop arthritis and problems in my knee and in my hip and so on. So he basically said, kick the can down the road as long as you can sort of tolerate the pain, and then we'll do the ankle fusion surgery. This idea that I'd have to, the only option was to fuse my ankle seemed like the wrong sort of thing to do, or I felt like there must be something else out there. I stumbled upon the work that was being done at the Limb Lengthening Center. And, I sort of began to gather information about it, and it seemed to me to be kind of something that I should pursue. So I contacted Fragomen's office, set up an appointment to get a consultation. The idea was that they were going to break the tibia and the fibula, and realign the bones. I guess the fibula break caused a misalignment, which is what contributed to, or probably even caused, the osteoarthritis. And the idea was, let's distract the ankle, let's go ahead and fix the misalignment, go in and clean up all of the calcium deposits that had built up in my ankle. I would eventually sort of heal and regain, use of my ankle. When you sort of step back and look at it logically, it seems like it's crazy, right? So you're saying you're going to break both of my bones, you're going to drill pins and drive them through my leg, you're going to attach them to some sort of external device and pull my ankle apart with a bunch of screws. I mean, it sounded kind of crazy, really, if you think about it. I said, well, just strictly from a scientific standpoint and medical standpoint, it all makes sense. It's engineering of the highest order. I have to say that the doctor's office was really helpful, and the surgery was done in New York City. So it's a good 4.5 hour drive. Which means that I couldn't sort of pop into the office if I had an issue and so on. So I very much took advantage of technology and would email or text whenever I had issues. I could take a picture, I could email the picture, and I got a response pretty much either same day or next day to whatever my questions were. So I felt like I was being supported remotely. As things progressed in the process. Was getting x-rays done here, sending them into the office, and then having the x-rays reviewed, make sure everything was healing and going properly, and then having just like a quick email type of a consultation, and that worked out really. At the end of that year and a half, I was starting to think, oh, maybe it's really not going to work out. And then all of a sudden, kind of like a light switch went on, and the improvement began to be very dramatic and progressed and continued to progress. Now I'm 5 years into it, and I have to say that even this last year, I've seen and felt improvement in my ankle. So that's all really. I'm sort of now at a point where I'm able to, and I do walk 2.5-3 miles a day. I had to give up skiing, which I was very passionate about in my 50s, and I've gotten back into skiing. Last year took a season's pass and was on the mountain 39 days, which was just fantastic. Able to stand for hours in the kitchen, cooking up gourmet meals is kind of a hobby of mine, which I wasn't able to do when I had pre-surgery. So I've regained sort of quality of life that I didn't have going into the surgery. So very much worth it, and very much helps me, be much more optimistic about the future and about my aging process, and knowing that I could be a lot more active than I would otherwise have been, even with ankle fusion surgery, knowing that there would ultimately be complications there and I wouldn't be able to ski with that. And there's, walking also would be an issue. I would have needed special shoes and so on and so forth. So yeah, this is like 100% worth it. It was a life-changing experience. I highly recommend it to anyone who's considering it. I just kind of hope that more hospitals begin to offer this to their patients, and that orthopedists are kind of made aware of this procedure, so that they can refer patients who may not want to sort of have their ankles fused.